That's better. My camera seems to have gone in a funny place.
Oh, I don't. I've had so many problems with webcams. It's just unreal.
This is really weird. That's better. I'm sort of centre screenish. I was sort of heading off to the right, that way. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, yeah, I'm all there. Oh, yeah, you got a nice view of the room now behind. That's good. It's nice to see where we are, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't want too many close-ups.
The vanishing cream isn't working on the wrinkles.
I think it's making them.
Know the feeling. Oh, so it's cold, but is it snowing or anything or not?
No, not down where we are. It's raining today. It's like 1 degree or something, but it's raining.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you got snow?
We've still got a bit left. We had really quite deep snow on Sunday, and then a little bit more on Sunday night. And it started yesterday. Was beautiful. It was fantastic sunshine all day. Then it started to melt, and now it's just drear out there. A bit of cold wind,
slushy,
and and I'm not going out.
Don't blame you. No, I don't have plans to go outside either, and the dog won't walk in the rain anyway, so that's fine.
No, and I mean he does sort of tend to squelch up around. He's only got little short legs, poor chap.
Yes. As soon as he feels that wet on his paw, nope, that's it.
No, well, he knows it's going to go up on his tummy immediately.
He has got a coat, but he needs Wellington boots or something, I think.
I think so. Probably stilts, or preferably if you put him on. But I tell you what, get a skateboard and put a string on it. Pull him along.
I have been known to pick him up and carry him because he's refused to walk before.
And then you sort of see a handy-looking patch of grass and you plonk him down and say, "There you are. Does that work?" No.
You can actually buy rucksack things for Dachshunds to carry them in. Yeah.
Yeah.
That just tells you about the breed, really.
It's sort of a bit like, there's baby carriers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah, it's not happening.
Oh, one of my old cats, she's having real difficulty walking, and but she'd like to go out, and so I didn't, but I did think about getting a baby carrier and putting her in it. It had to be a front one because she wouldn't stay in the back. If she can't see me, it would be like
Yeah.
But I very nearly did, but she got sold. She pegged it anyway, so. But it was a thought. I thought, well, I can always take you out and enjoy in the sack.
You can get little push chairs for dogs now as well, apparently.
Right. Yes.
I guess if they're old and infirm, that's.
And the most amazing thing I've seen, and you probably have, is when they have an accident and they lose, say, both back legs, and they can put them on these wheels.
Yeah.
And it's and they look quite happy with the films that I've seen.
A few Dachshunds like that because they do suffer from back problems, and it stops their back legs from working. So they have little wheels, don't they? They go whizzing all over the place.
I'm not. You've seen Star Wars, presumably the original.
Yes.
You remember when they're coming back from the prison and they got the Wookiee in front, like a prisoner, and this little thing comes around the corner and you go, rah! I don't know, runs away. It reminds me of that. I know. No, I can't go there. So, well, there we are. So, how's life mistreating you at the moment?
Yeah. We've been talking about this. So many people are struggling at the moment, aren't they? I mean, we're towards the end of January and it's ongoing, isn't it? I feel a bit like we're all in this kind of holding pattern, and it's just a bit groundhog. It just keeps going round and round and round and round. and we don't seem to be getting anywhere. So I know lots of people are struggling, and well, I haven't really left the house since March last year. So
really, yeah.
I've been to walking the dog. Been on a couple of garden centre trips, but that's about it. Haven't been to shops. Haven't been, it's hard.
I've been to shops a little bit last summer. I'm not a big shopping person.
No.
I am the sort of person who says if somebody else will do my shopping for me, that's fine. Fortunately, my husband does. He is, relatively speaking, quite a shopping person, and so he does it, or else, like you, I get delivery. But I've been up on our hills last summer and even this winter, because it was around midwinter. It was really not bad, and so I went up with a friend a couple of times to the ridges around here, and it was just like, wow.
Yeah.
And that I sort of miss. I'm sort of at the stage now of working out now, how can I get there without anybody arresting me? And I probably can, actually, because a couple of places I want to go is probably within 5 miles. And it just means you get a different view.
Yeah. Well, it's just the lack of not being able to do the usual things, isn't it? My husband said to me, "Oh, shall I take a day off work next week?" What for? Where are we going to go? To the lounge? It's just, and it's missing everyone, isn't it? I mean, we have been doing Zoom chats with friends and family and things, but it's not the same, is it?
It isn't, but then again, I'm a funny sod. I live in the middle of nowhere, up a quarter of a mile of grass track that frightens most people to death. I've got one neighbour about 155, well, maybe 500 yards down the road, who's about as solitary as I am, and we speak to each other now and again, but we're really friends. And so I miss people a lot less than most people do. I'm not used to having people around anyway.
Yeah.
I don't go and hang out with people in cafes and things. I'll go meet a friend, a real friend.
Yeah.
But
I do
I'm not used to doing it, so it isn't something I miss, and I don't go to. The one things I miss is we've got a fabulous junk shop down in Church Street.
Yes.
And I do like junk shops.
Yeah.
And I have got
all their furniture from junk shops. Yeah.
Yeah, same here. Yeah. And every now and again I'll go down and that's just what I wanted.
Yeah.
And so I've missed that because of course they can't be open.
Yeah.
And we've also got excellent charity shops where you can get cashmere. I mean, we've got rich people around here. We've bought cashmere. And so you can buy cashmere for 10 quid.
Yes, I do. I do like a good rummage through the charity shops.
Oh, so, yeah. And now and again you go, wow.
Yeah.
Somebody will want that. All right, fine, I do.
Yeah, nearly all of our furniture now comes from charity shops, and I do love a bargain.
Yeah, and it's much nicer because it feels.
Well,
the only new thing
aren't you?
Yeah, the only new thing I got, and I got it last year. Gave myself a birthday present, a kitchen table. And
I'd like that. Yeah.
we do actually need one. Well, we did, and hopefully we will again, because when the students come, the poor sods have got to eat somewhere. And I'd really rather, and they'd really rather not have trays on their knees somewhere. And the kitchen's quite big. So I hunted up and I found this really nice, long and extendable oak table, actually.
Nice.
And so that was horrible new buy. But it is nice, and we do like it. So in a way, I probably struggle a lot less than others because so much of my life lives here anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm not in a city. I walk out my front door and I'm in a lane. and then I'm in a field, and then I'm in a wood, and I haven't even taken the car out.
Yeah.
And maybe people are going to learn that.
I gave up my car. Oh gosh, 4 years ago now. Oh, time goes, doesn't it, when you don't think about it? Probably even more than that now, actually. Probably going over 6 years ago, because I wasn't using it where I work from home, and the odd trip out, I borrow my husband's car, and I gave it up, and I haven't missed it really at all.
Well, we've only got
there a lot of the time.
Yeah, we've only got the one between us, and it's always worked. We've always been able, even if I wanted to go off in one direction and he's wanted to go off in the other, we've managed to organise it so that I get back in time for him to go off or whatever. But I couldn't do without one here. I cannot get anywhere that isn't a bus.
I can walk pretty much everything from here, shops and all sorts. So
Well, if I was young and fit, I could, but it's 2 miles to the nearest sort of bus, and I can't do that anymore.
No. Oh, you wouldn't want to do that, really, but
well, I would actually, if I could, and I certainly can't bicycle anywhere. I mean, that would be kill yourself, definitely. And well, with the osteoporosis, I've only got to fall off on the road, haven't I?
That'd be it.
Great.
Let's not do that.
No, let's not do that. So but I haven't done that for years, so I'm not worried about that. But no, I was wondering, people. So we've huddled together in cities, and we get used to lights and street lights and technology and shops and everything being on tap all the time. And I'm wondering whether Mother Earth isn't sort of saying, maybe you ought to get out of that one a little bit.
Take a breath. I have done both. In my youth, I lived on a farm in the middle of nowhere. I don't think I appreciated it very much then, to be honest. It was just good for loud parties. So, but now I live on the edge of a city. But I do have everything here. I can walk to pretty much everything. We are 5-minute drive from the ocean. We are 5-minute drive from a forest. There are parks around, but there are shops. There are takeaways that deliver. For me, it suits, and especially if we have children as well. I think we were talking about this the other day. Actually, my husband and I, when I went to school, one of my friends at school lived in the middle of nowhere, and she was, for any of the parties or the social side of it, she had to rely on her dad to ferry her backwards and forwards, and that it didn't work. So I think with children, perhaps with a social life and things like that, it's more difficult if you are out.
Was it that she didn't like her dad ferrying her, or that her dad got pissed off at doing it?
I think the latter.
Because when I was growing up, I mean, the nearest bus was 2 miles away, and that was fine because I bicycled or walked to it every morning to go to school and home again. So I could do that, but of course it probably stopped at about 10 o'clock at night. So if I wanted to go to a party or a dance or something like that, he'd have to come and pick me up. He was actually always very good about it. And he got a bit miffed if I was late. Well, if I was more than 10 minutes late, it was like I'd get shouted at. Well, I got shouted at quite rudely because if I was sort of 15 or 16, he knew I was with a boyfriend, and that was okay. So it was like, stop kissing that boy and get back here. I want to go to bed.
It's another one of those balance things, isn't it? I mean, you hear stories about children that don't even know that vegetables grow in the ground.
I know.
I think it was one of the chefs, wasn't it, did a thing with school children, and they couldn't recognize any of the vegetables. That's just shocking.
Yeah, that was Jamie Thingamajig, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And it was just sort of like gulp. I mean, I have seen it, but and You should know, because I mean, if it's just a thing in a bottle or a thing in a packet or a thing in a tin, you don't have any relationship to
No.
it, do you?
No.
And I think
I mean,
that's a
that's
big.
not about where you live, is it? That's just about.
No, that's about your education.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it can nowadays. It happens perfectly well in the village.
Yeah.
Oh God, we had such a funny one in the where I last lived. I used to pop up the village shop, and there were several women who made jams and marmalades and things like that. And there was a local honey producer, so you could buy all that in the local shop.
Yeah.
It was fabulous.
Yeah.
And one of them made the best Seville marmalade in the whole universe. And she's a lovely, lovely woman. And so I used to go out and buy some, and I went up for a pot. It was a Saturday, and so there was a teenager there on the shop, you know, getting some pocket money. And so I put that down, and she picked it up, and of course it's still got all the orange peel and everything in it. She said, "What's that? Why has it got worms in it?"
Now, I hope you spun her a line on that. I hope you ran with the worm thing.
I did think about it, but then I thought, actually, there's the other half of this. Possibly she ought to know. Well, it was so tempting, because you know what I'm like. As somebody only got to start off with one of those, and I can do the whole 9 yards, you know. So I did tell her, she said, "Ugh, is that how they make marmalade? Ugh, I'm not eating that again." And I was like, shit. Bloody hell.
I do think you should know where your food comes from, where it's made, and yeah. No, I mean, we're not, as a fact, I eat pretty much everything and anything. Not a big fan of shellfish, but that's just the taste of it, really. But I've brought the children up to try everything, and sometimes it's been a bit of a battle, but they've got to try everything. You can't possibly know that you don't like it until you've tried it.
Yeah.
But I also know where meat comes from, and you know, how vegetables grow and fruit, and you know, And my dad, when the kids were little, used to take them to the local fruit farm, and they used to pick all the fruit on the fruit farm, and you know, see it in action, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to know where it comes from.
I think I can't see how we can possibly help the world to get more balanced if people don't know things like that.
I don't make jam and marmalade things. I have some very lovely friends that do, and I'm always welcome. Free samples, always welcome. But I do bake, and the kids have always baked with me, and the kids have always cooked. That, you know, my son's a bit hesitant these days, 15-year-old boy, not that interested, but he always did when he was younger. And my daughter can cook pretty much anything. So, it's about understanding it all, isn't it?
And this is all about life.
The kids used to get excited. We used to go into the local town for dentist, and we'd go to the dentist, and the treat after the dentist was going into Waitrose food shop so that they could pick a ready meal. And that was really exciting for them, because we don't have ready meals. Their excitement treat was to pick a ready meal for tea.
Well, I mean, it makes me blink a little, but
they thought that was really exciting.
No, I've never had that kind of excitement. But I suppose, in a sense, that I don't know whether I miss it or not. I was thinking about it the other day. We used to go out like once every couple of weeks, because there used to be a couple of very nice sort of cafe restaurants and a nice pub, and in Shrewsbury there's some nice restaurants and things as well. And we used to go out and have lunch. And we're not very good at going out in the evening because we can't be bothered.
No. If we go out, it's usually during the day.
Lunchtime, daytime is fine. Yeah, we can do that. And we, of course, we haven't done that No, we did do it once last year. Can't remember when. Anyway, we did, and probably in the summer when it was sort of we were let out a bit. So we haven't got that now, and actually, I don't think either of us are particularly fussed. It was sort of nice, but there's also part of us, and I suppose this is partly getting old. I've done that.
Yeah.
Really good memories of that. Will going out today keep up with those memories? And I certainly have that. And I don't know whether you do.
Like you, we don't really go out in the evenings very much unless we go out with family. My husband and I still like to do date days, and we will pick a place to go to, and we will go out and we'll have breakfast somewhere out, and then we'll mooch about, and then we'll have a late lunch, and then we'll come back again. So I do miss my girls, the gang. We do meet always in a cafe. But that's generally more around coffee and cake than it is actually getting together really more than anything else. I think I do miss the whole independent cafe thing. I don't like the big chain ones, but I like the ones that have got homemade cake and make their stuff on the premises kind of thing. But no, I don't do I've done like yourself. I worked for a company that used to entertain our guests up in London 2 or 3 times a year. So I've done the whole big fancy posh restaurants.
Oh yeah.
Fantastic at the time.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
Possibly been there, seen it, done it, got the T-shirt. Yeah.
I feel that a bit. It was a bit of a shock a few years back now, probably 5 years back. And I had to go up to London to do a talk at the College of Psychic Studies. That was it. And it was a talk one night and then a workshop the next day. And they actually put me up there for 3 nights, which was really nice. And and it's South Ken, so it's practically opposite the Natural History Museum, so it's really nice. Fantastic cafes, fantastic cafes just up the road. So I thought, well, I'm here. I haven't been to a restaurant we used to go to a lot. It's no longer there, up in Greek Street in Soho. I'm going. So I booked myself a table and went for the evening, got a taxi up there and all that sort of thing. And the restaurant was still fantastic. It was called the Gay Hussar, and it was a left-wing. It was run by Hungarians, and they were fantastic. But it was always frequented by left-wingers, politicians and everything. Indeed, when I've been there, there's usually been a couple of left-wing politicians in there as well that you recognise. And one wall is covered in cartoons of all the famous figures, was. Anyway, I got there and it was great. And, one of the blokes who was waiting was somebody I still knew. Oh, it's you again. You haven't seen you for 5 years kind of thing. Yeah, hi. And that was really nice. But I don't know what it's like now, but they'd started to knock Soho down.
Right.
And I was talking to as you always do, you talk to the taxi driver when they're driving you because they like it. Anyway, you get all the latest from them. And I said, oh, it's dreadful. He said, so-and-so's gone and such has gone. And there was a whole big, I used to do a lot of photography. And it was a hell of a photographic place. There are really superlative printers there. And there's a lot of film stuff going on there and things like that. It's all gone. There was a fantastic early music shop there where you could get all these amazing instruments, that you see people playing. It's all gone. And it's all sort of been turned into apartments for rent for people to go on holiday.
Yeah.
And there's no life there. And Berwick Street Market's gone. And that used to be the market up there. I used to get, when I worked next door to Soho, I used to get all my veg there.
Yeah.
And you could get meat from the Basque Country or Peru or something, and kangaroo steaks and whatever. You could get all sorts of stuff, and it's gone. And
progress,
I really found
they call it progress.
Yeah, they do. And it was like, oh, why?
It's money, isn't it? They can make money from renting out apartments. And
well, I mean, the Hungarian restaurant, I've been there since 1950 something. I mean, when I first went up to London to see a boyfriend who was up at the place, the dance school there, he took me there. And because it wasn't that expensive, and if you'd saved up for a few weeks, you could take your girlfriend there. And anyway, we went Dutch. But so I'd been there since 1950s, and they tried to stay, and of course it got a load of followers. So they tried to get people, and people were putting money in it, like thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds, and they tried to buy it, but they kept upping the price.
Yeah,
the developers.
The prices in London, well, even we're quite down south, obviously, but the further you go up towards London, the price of houses is ridiculous. I don't know how anyone buys a house in London unless you are a millionaire of some
must be. You must be, yeah. And when we first went up there, because I went up there first when Paul and I went up there to live up there and work up there, 1974. And people did, and you could live on the edge of Soho, on in the middle of town, Monmouth Street and all this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And you could get a flat. And I mean, we did, and we moved out later when we got a house. But you could live right in the centre, and so could walk everywhere.
Yeah.
And there was life at night, and well, that's one thing that I've got a feeling that the beloved virus is probably going to hit us with. It's going to say, developer, eat your heart out. You're not going to get it. People don't want it. And,
it's funny, isn't it? What makes it? What makes those changes? How does a city evolve like that? Money, isn't it?
Money, and people advertising, people wanting Hollywood lifestyles.
Yeah. Yes, now that's media, isn't it? It's down to media. Everyone wants to look like and be like, well, not everyone, because I'm not incling us in this.
No, and most probably all of our friends either. There are quite a few million people other than us, and they probably do.
Although, to be fair, I couldn't actually pick a Kardashian out of a lineup, but I know they're famous for being famous. But it is, isn't it? It's media, isn't it? Media projects this ideology. It's a bit like they call it Instagram witches, don't they? From
Air. Oh, do they? You say, I need you to catch up.
From Air view, apparently, I only use Instagram a little bit. Instagram witches is the kind of stereotype, all dressed in black, and I'm not knocking everybody dressed in black, I'm just giving you an example, with all the makeup on and the hair and all the beautiful black nails and everything set out beautiful.
Sort of very goth.
It's not just photogenic is where I'm heading for, just so that it looks picture perfect kind of witchcraft. And of course, we know it's not all like that, but that's what people aspire to, isn't it? From the media, they want the Hollywood, like you say, the Hollywood lifestyle. They want the perfect houses and the perfect bodies and the perfect makeup and what is perceived to be perfect, obviously.
Well, I mean, they come over like that, and I mean the people who, I mean, as we're watching a middling sort of program about the development of looking at the stars yesterday, and it was like a set of 3, so we're watching them, and they all had adverts in them. So, sound off. And
adverts are louder, aren't they? The adverts are definitely louder than the actual program.
Well, I don't care. I don't want to hear what they're saying anyway, because they all look like a load of bloody idiots. But I thought, well, no, actually, you need to have a quick look at this. So I sat there through whatever it is, 5 minutes of one going, God, all the time. And
sometimes it's a job to know what they're actually advertising, isn't it?
There was one which had labels of the post office on it, and I couldn't work this out. And there's a couple riding down on these scooters, and the usual, the sort of black guy, white woman, up for the right sort of things, and they ride down, and then they cuddle their kids, or at least not their kids, probably their grandkids, and they did all the right things, and that's sort of, bloody hell, has this got to do with the post office? And then eventually I read it was insurance. I was like, hey, gosh.
It does depend what channel you watch. I watch the cooking channel a lot, and for some reason there's an awful lot of wills, funeral expenses,
yes,
saga adverts. They obviously decided that if you watch the cooking channel, you're of that age.
yes. It's amusing doing that. And then the other thing that was on, there was some sorts of baby adverts or something, or some of it might have been washing powder. You can't tell really. You just expect them to stick the baby in the washing machine any minute now. And that's interesting.
That saves time.
Well, okay, fine. What's going to happen? And sees baby swimming around,
Your nose pressed against the glass.
No, they didn't do it. It was all right.
Yeah, don't write in.
There was this sort of gorgeous woman with a fantastic figure and perfect hair and perfect makeup, and this baby that was going, and then there was the husband behind her who was really handsome, well, if you like that sort of thing, and he came along and he took the baby and he knew how to change it, and all this kind of thing. And he sort of go, really? And of course people see that and they think having a baby's like that.
No.
No, I do know. I've not had them, but I do know that is not how it is.
That's really,
you can see it, can't you? You can see the sort of whole, this is buy into this.
Yeah.
Buy into this.
Yeah. And
it can be like that.
Yeah, it's not a perfect world. No one's that perfect.
And I doubt whether either of the two main actors had kids, and it certainly wasn't theirs. It was in there. And they probably don't wash their own clothes. If they do, they certainly, whatever. But they're very good actors.
But there have been stories, haven't there? There have been stories of people that have seen, particularly on the sort of soap operas, where the people from the audience have believed that they're real characters and have written to them when they've done something horrible, or they've had hate mail when they've done something awful on the programme. People do get sucked into it.
They do. It's sort of like, ooh, you've got, I mean, I like a good novel. I like a good film. I like a good story.
Get lost in a good book. I can get totally lost in a good book.
Anything like that, it's absolutely fine. And I'm totally with the characters, and that sort of thing, and the events and everything. But I don't expect that that's me. I don't expect to turn into it by reading the book or watching the film. And I don't expect necessarily, depending on what the book is, of course, to meet it outside.
But that's what media does to some people, isn't it? The media is so powerful. And I think that's for social media in particular. You see so many people sharing things that aren't true. That are misinformation and that haven't been researched, and that's down to the media, isn't it? Writing misleading headlines and
I don't think it is
things out there that aren't actually fact.
I disagree with you there. I disagree with you there. I don't think it's the media's fault. I think it's the teachers and the parents' fault.
Oh, okay.
Because the media is going to try and sell you something. That's what they're in business for. And as long as we've got the sort of economy we've got, they'll try and play on your emotions. Fine. But hasn't anybody told you that's what they're doing?
Oh, I see. Yes. Yeah.
Hasn't anybody told you that actually, darling, that's bullshit?
Yeah.
Life isn't like that. Come on, let's go and look at it.
Yeah.
And if your parents don't do that, if your teachers don't do that, how are you going to know?
Yeah.
I mean, Goebbels was very good at it in the 30s. And I think, to be honest, nowadays, our media is sort of Goebbels, eat your heart out. We've got you totally sussed. We're way ahead of you, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's because people don't discern. They don't look. And for me, what we do, witchcraft, if you want to call it that, is we do try and help people to discern. Because if you don't discern when you're doing the craft, you are up a gum tree. And it can be a little awkward at times. But the other thing is, I think if we say, well, it's the media, again, we were talking about last time, we're taking all our own responsibility off. I mean, you didn't let your kids get away with that kind of thing. It was like, come on, that's not real. Oh, but Mum, no, it isn't. Look.
Research.
Yeah. Now here and here and here and here, sort of thing. And actually go and look at it. Well, why is this guy doing it? Oh, well, the chemical company, the pharma company has told me that this will, cure COVID, like the latest nasal spray. I don't know if you've seen that. I saw it by accident yesterday, and it was so funny. Anyway, so you sort of go, hang on a minute, why are they saying that? Because they want you to buy it.
Buy it.
Not because it works.
No, they just want.
Oh, do you mean they'd tell me lies? Do you mean they wouldn't? Come on, of course they will. Oh, but people aren't like that. Yes, they are.
Yes, and I've had a few people come my way from the witchcraft point of view. From the, I went to a psychic reader, and they told me I've got an entity attached to me. And they said that if I pay them $200, they'll remove the entity for me. Really?
Yeah. Bye.
No matter what religion, what faith, what you practice, there are charlatans in all of it.
And, people who are just out for, what I can get.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying that, if somebody offers you something for free, that's necessarily going to work either.
No.
And I don't say it's wrong to charge for, your help with something.
Oh no, because if we both run online schools and things, and we both put awful lot of time, effort, and our own energy into it. So why shouldn't we have an exchange of some sort? But
I think it's the whole principle of exchange. And somebody was on to me a couple of weeks ago. Oh, you've got to earn it. And I said, it's not about earning. It's about exchange. And there's a difference between earning something, which comes over as this sort of Protestant work ethic shit. And, well, thanks ever so much. That was really nice. Would you like this in exchange? Because of the economy we're in, most of the time, although sometimes I'm able to do barter, most of the time it has to be money because I can't exchange anything else.
No.
For what I need.
You've got to pay your bills, haven't you?
Exactly. And unfortunately, I still have to do that in money. But I'm crippled, as pretty well everybody knows. She says, waving a pair of paws at you. I can't clean my house. It absolutely cripples me to move the vacuum cleaner around. And dusting. Well, okay, let's have a go. This arm works fairly well. That's as high as I can get that arm.
Yeah.
And that's painful. So I can't dust anything. and you're scrubbing something, and I'll make half a table, and I'll be knackered. So I've had to have a cleaner for ages, which is fine, and they're usually great. But one of my students is a cleaner, so I said, "How about we swap?
Oh, okay.
You be my student, but come and clean my house every week."
Yeah. Brilliant.
And so sometimes we get it right.
Yeah.
And I've done it before with other things. And when I can, I do, because the part thing is, it seems so sort of silly, because she was going to be paying me for the lessons and I was going to be paying her for the cleaning. It worked out about the same. It worked it out. It worked out about the same. And but we were both getting what we wanted.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to do that because everything costs money.
Yeah.
I've got to pay my rent. I've got to buy the vegetables. I've got to put petrol in the car to go places. I've got to, pay the council tax and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And, the council tax, not interested in, having a few cabbages instead.
You could try, but I don't think you get very
far.
No,
I don't think you see. It's like, what? You can see the face. So, I'm stuck with it. So we exchange money so that we've got something to exchange for the next thing we actually really need.
Yeah.
But it is exchange. And it, like you said, it's my time and my experience, your time, your experience. You've put how many years into it, as well as what you put into each lesson.
Yes. Yeah.
So, this isn't a hobby.
No. No, I have a real job out in the real world still. Thankfully, I can work from home part-time. I'm personal assistant, so I do that from home. That's what pays my bills. But I couldn't do without the witchcrafty royalties and courses and things. That just bulks it up so that I can afford to live.
Well, I've got a couple of pensions, being antique, and I don't work for anybody else anymore. Thank the gods, because I'd probably kill them. I'm not a good employee. Well, I can be, but it depends on the person I'm working for.
I've worked for the same chap for 29 years. So
that's fine.
Right.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, when you get one like that, that's okay. But no, I need the student work and the royalties and anything else that comes in that way. Otherwise, I wouldn't actually pay the rent.
Yeah, no.
And so it comes through. On the other hand, like you, with all the witchcraft stuff that we both do, certainly for me, I love it.
Oh,
I never want to give it up.
Yeah. No,
I never want to doing it.
I have to do the real job.
Yeah.
I choose.
Yeah. Spend as much time as you can in the witchy stuff. Yeah, I do, which reminds me, I've got a lesson to start up because it's Immel practically.
It is. It's nearly here, isn't it? This last year just sped past. This year's going even quicker, I think.
It does seem to be going fairly fast, and I've had this sort of, well, that I was sort of kicked out of the last house and forced to move here and forced to change, and then we got the virus, and then we got Zooming and la 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 la, all this kind of thing. I'm old and I can't do changing. Yes, I can. Okay, fine. And so the work's changing, but I've got to do where I would have had the students would have come down here for this weekend, but they can't. It's just, don't even think about it. So it's like, well, how am I going to do what I was going to do? Because they were actually going to explore the threads that make up the forest, the wildwood. And the wildwood exists, of course, still, whether it's got concrete on top of it or not, it's still there.
Yes.
The spirit of it. And did you ever read or watch the Welsh monk Cadfael?
No, I heard about it. I've not actually watched it.
Well, I actually live in the middle of the forest that she used a lot of the time for her adventures.
Oh, okay.
And some of it, a little bit of it, is still there, but most of it, of course, is farm and odd villages, and there's a town down the road, and this at one end of it, and another at the other end of it. I mean, it is fairly wild, but it's not forest. It's not trees then. And some of it, like the Long Mynd, which is part of it, is quite wild and moorlandy, but it's not trees. And so we were told last November, we've got to explore forest. And me and a couple of the others who live not too far away, we've got to explore the Long Forest. So we did. So we were going to all explore the Long Forest this weekend. No.
No, you're not.
No. So I said, well, okay, what are we going to do? Well, this is a really good tip, and I know you use it, Rachel, but everybody else. So you don't know what to do. So don't ask another human being. So say, oi, what are we going to do then? If I can't get them here, what kind of forest are they going to do? Come on, ideas now. And they do.
Yeah.
And of course, it was like, well, there used to be wild forest all over Britain and all over America, because I got 2 American students, poor souls, in New York in lockdown. Oh, and that all used to be forested. Tell them to go and, through journeying and that sort of thing, find the spirit and say, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
So they've all started this week, and they're all getting they've all got their bit of forest now, because they didn't know where they were going to go, but they've all been told. And so they're actually going to do it this weekend. And of course, we're meeting on the Friday. Then the Saturday is get out and do it, or stay in and journey and do it. And then I said to them, make it up into a story. 5-minute story. Sunday, we Zoom and everybody tells their story and we talk about it.
Excellent.
And it's just it would be lovely to be there in person with everybody.
Yeah, but sometimes you have to have a different option.
And one of my guides said to me, the one who's sort of leading this epic, said, well, they come to you, and apart from anything else, and you must find this, people come to you, and of course your cloak covers them, and they do absorb from just being in your presence.
Yeah.
And they get more confident. And I live somewhere very pretty, so it's sort of like da-da-da, and it feels like a bit of a holiday.
Yes.
And they know they can do it. And then they go home, and I haven't got Ellen, I haven't got Rachel.
Yeah. Reality hits.
Can I do it? And he said, well, we're going to make them. They're going to do it in their place, and they're going to learn that they can reach and touch you from New York. It's fine, fast as light. No, we're a damn sight faster than light.
Yeah, forget internet speed, much faster than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if you're on fibre to the premises. This is sort of hot wired. And they've got to find their own place, and we've done it. I've done it about three or four times now since over the past year, and every time they sort of say, that was really good. I know I can do it even if I'm not next to you. And you go, that's what I want. I don't need to train of bloody acolytes. I need folks who can go out and do it.
Yeah.
And it's just thrilling. So
yeah, and that's it is your it's the confidence, isn't it? Once you've had that first taste of confidence, it's brilliant.
Yeah. And I mean, are you doing stuff like that with your guys?
Yes. Oh yeah, I push and shove them all the time.
Well, yeah, I realise that.
quite often my emails or my words to them start with, "Now I'm not being mean."
Really, I'm not shouting at you.
But I'm going to push you because I know you can do it.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
And then I think that's our job. Part of our job as teachers, isn't it? To not give. You don't want to hand the student everything on the plate. Do it
No.
like this, do it like this, do it like that. No, you've got to go out and work it out for yourself, because that's how you gain your confidence.
And how you remember.
Yes.
And how you don't get stuck when you haven't got all the things in your recipe book.
Yeah.
A witchy recipe book. I haven't got one of those. What am I going to do? I can't do it. Yes, you can.
That's how we all learn, isn't it?
Isn't it? Well, if it's really going to stick, yeah. But are you Zooming with them as well?
Yeah, we have. Well, we do one-to-one, so all of the homework is dealt with by me via email. But we have regular Zoom sessions with myself and my team and all the students.
Yeah.
So they can ask questions or
we did that too, and they've got used to it. Some of them were a bit resistant. Oh, I don't want to see myself on the screen.
Yes.
Oh.
Well, then, there is that. But Zoom does have the option, doesn't it, where you don't have to have your picture up.
No, that's true. But they've all decided actually they do. Because they find they're watching everybody else, and then they feel they're a bit mean if they're hiding behind a mask of some sort.
It makes you all feel more part of a group anyway, doesn't it, if you can do that?
It does. Yeah. And they're actually finding that they like it, and that you can do witchcraft anywhere.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think it also makes, from our point of view, it makes us seem perhaps more human to them if they can interact on a face-to-face kind of basis, that you are a real person and that you're not just someone on the end of an email that knows everything, does everything right, is perfect. No, we're not.
Well, I suspect, like me, you're fairly good at falling over and cocking things up now and again.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And if anyone's been to any of our open rituals, they've actually been described as organised chaos.
Yes.
Absolutely what they are. And this is my point. I actually put things up sometimes if I have a recipe that goes wrong. I had recently that just completely wrong. I actually put it up on my blog because I wanted people to know that not everything I make comes out perfectly. I have mishaps just like anyone else. We are human. We do get stuff wrong. And I think it's very easy with this whole media thing to look like you're up on a pedestal and everything's perfect and you do your witchcraft perfectly and you never do this wrong. And no, it doesn't happen like that. We all get it wrong sometimes.
And there is, of course, the lovely old adage of the only way off a pedestal is down.
I wouldn't get up on it because I'd fall off.
No. I hate heights anyway. So absolutely no. But if I cock up on, sort of occasionally, I have been known to send the wrong lesson, for instance.
Yes, I've done that.
And, I have been known to be late. And things like that. I'm really sorry, I totally screwed up. And you just sort of start it like that. And apart from anything else, if you actually admit that you totally cocked up at some point, everybody goes, oh, all right then, come on then, what? So they don't actually scream at you and hate you. Which does help because they tend to listen.
I think it helps, particularly if you're learning, to know that everybody's in the same boat. We all get it wrong sometimes. One of the other things I get quite often is I'm struggling to connect, or I've fallen off my path, or I haven't done anything for ages. I don't know how to get back in. Yeah, we all do it. And I think it helps them to know that happens to us too. It's not,
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing
this kind of perfect idol.
No, and I mean, there's two things, and that for me is one is no, I'm nobody's idol. For God's sake, don't start thinking of me like that, because you will come a cropper if you do. Seriously. And two is if we get, I mean, both Fiona and I do it. If we've had a cock up, or we put it on blogs occasionally, and we put it into the Zoom parts of the lesson is, well, when I went out and did that, I just screwed up completely with so-and-so. And because everybody laughs.
Yeah.
And so, and then it's like, well, what did you do? And then you say what you did.
And hopefully you learn from it.
Well,
always.
At least in that moment, yes, it doesn't necessarily mean you're never going to do it again.
No.
And that's something else to get over. And people have so much guilt. You know, I got it wrong.
Oh, I hang on to guilt like nobody's business. That's one of my
I suggest you start letting it go, because it doesn't in as any good.
It's a continual, ongoing shadow work thing.
Yeah, indeed it is. And we've just been doing well, what in witchcraft is called shadow work, but we call it working with the subtle bodies. So you work with your body spirit, your feeling spirit, your thinking spirit, your intuitive spirit. And of course, most people haven't talked to those in the whole of this lifetime. So it's a little bit like, best friends who you refuse to answer the phone to, refuse to answer their emails, and refuse to answer their texts. And so you've actually turned up and they're going, right, I'm going to have her now. And you get harangued. And we did warn them about this all the time. And you're harangued quite nicely. It's like, well, how do you expect me to do this if you've never taken any notice and you keep putting the wrong food down me if it's body? And they've all sort of come out, and one of them had this lovely little phrase, I think I'm on the naughty step. And it was sort of yes, and everybody, and is there anybody else going to join me here? And there's sort of everybody turned up.
Need a big naughty step.
Very long, it takes 8 people. But I sort of let them play with that for a little bit. And I said, well, it's not actually, you haven't been naughty. Please get over this sort of naughty child thing. You haven't done it. You've said sorry to the bodies. Sorry, I've really neglected you for the past 30 years or 50 years or whatever it was. But I'm here now. Can we start? Can we start again?
Yeah.
And they're starting to get this thing that if you keep on with the guilt and sort of like, I'm really naughty, I ought to be punished, and it sort of has the implication of I ought to be punished.
Yeah.
You spend your whole time fuss-arsing about that, but not actually getting on with what body
not moving forward. Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, right. Yeah. Perhaps I could drop it. Mind you, there are guilt things that we've all had. And I've just been hopefully getting at least to another level with a couple of nasty ones for me.
We all
and they hang there.
Yeah.
And you think, I should never have done that. But you did do that.
Yeah.
So we're here. How's about we start from here? We don't try and remake the past.
Yeah.
My cat's been really good with, all my cats have always been very good at that. And one of the problems with a cat that I thought I should have looked after better, that I thought I failed her and I caused her pain and all this kind of thing. And she's told me right from the day she died, it's like, get out of it. You didn't. Yeah, very much. She's that sort of a cat. And but it still wasn't working. So the current cat sort of grabbed me by her claws kind of thing and said, you're wasting time. You're getting in my way. I can't talk to you. Otherworld can't talk to you because your head's full of this bloody guilt all the time.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, slap in the face with wet shark.
We all do it, don't we?
We do, yeah. So I told the students about it, and it was quite painful telling them. And I burst into tears in the middle of the story, which was actually probably good. But it was sort of like, we all do it, and this is at least one way out. You might like to try something similar.
Yeah.
And not get there, but it's hard. And it's very hard.
I think shadow work, in particular, that working with yourself, it is ongoing, isn't it?
Always. Always.
Once you open that can of worms or that jar of marmalade, it's ongoing, isn't it?
You cannot stop. We do another one that's sort of part of what witchcraft called shadow work, is alchemical composting.
Okay, yep.
And so you go through the 4 processes, nigredo, albedo, citronato, and rubbado, which is actually the same as what your compost heap does.
Yeah.
And so it's really useful to use the analogy.
Yeah.
How do you start making compost heap? Which is also useful if they haven't made one yet. And you sort of get all this sort of going. And of course, the stuff that comes out, at least half of them always say, I can't find anything to put in my compost heap. It's like, take your blinkers off.
Yes, you're not looking properly.
Great looking. But, and then it's like, and then something comes and go, and they want to go, oh, no. Yeah, that's how you know.
Yeah.
As soon as it hurts like hell, you know.
Oh, yeah. It's not going to be easy, is it?
No. And that, you compost every day, and we get quite rude about it. Well, it's not really rude, but I mean, people nowadays don't talk about things like that. But what happens to you if you don't go to the toilet every day?
Well, it'd be incredibly uncomfortable, that's for sure.
Well, you'd actually die.
Yeah, it's
because your body's full of poison.
Yeah, so
stuff that has been good for you.
Not a good plan.
No, it's stuff that has been good for you. Like the food you've eaten. But the waste product is not good for you, and it needs to go back into the soil, etc. for composting, blah. And so it's like, well, you've got to go to the loo every day. You've got to go to the loo spiritually every day too.
Yeah.
And hang on, I'm just heading for the spiritual loo. What's it? It's a Wordsworth poem, and it's The Lonely Sea in the Sky. Paul and I, of course, have changed that around and sort of thing. And so it's like the lonely loo in the sky.
But that's a good way of thinking of, isn't it? Because that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And you collect it every day and you absorb what you need from it. And then you've got to get rid of what you no longer need.
Yeah.
And that's really all it is. And again, it isn't necessarily frightful things you've done wrong, unless you've recently sort of defrauded somebody or run them over or done something awful. Deliberately, I mean.
That's a whole other thing.
But we all have it, and you've got to do it. Because I think a lot of depression, I mean, I'm a pussycologist. I mean, a psychologist as well. We always used to call ourselves pussycologists. And you've got to do it that way, because I think a lot of depression seems to come out of that.
Yeah.
When you store this stuff up, and
it festers, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does fester, the feelings, and it really does. I mean, the feelings, the bad feelings, they mess your hormones up.
Yeah.
So your whole body goes out of sync. Hello, sweetheart.
Are you singing?
I'm singing because I think I don't want mummy on this bloody machine anymore. Wow, that was a journey and a half.
Yes. We've covered all sorts of things today.
We usually seem to, though. It's quite fun. I think people seem to like it. So anyway, I hope we haven't bored you all to tears out there.
You can always throw questions at us.
And you can always say, for God's sake, don't talk about that again. It was boring.
Yes.
We might possibly notice.
Always suggestions, so long as they're polite.
Absolutely. So, well, I suppose we better go and make our tea and take the dog for a carry. Walk, carry? Walk? Yes.
Yeah, well, if it's not raining. Otherwise, he'll just lay under the blankets on the sofa, which I don't actually blame him for, to be honest. Yeah.
No. But I want you, Mummy, because I'm shouting.
Yeah.
I'm singing to you.
Well, hopefully you don't get too cold.
And hopefully you don't get too cold either. Or wet. Or anything else.
Thank you for your company as always.
And yours, delightful.
We'll catch up in a couple of weeks.
We will. Please do put suggestions up.
Yes, we are open.
We're always open to them.
Themes, questions. We're happy to give you a point of view, whether it's right or wrong, or
well, there isn't any right or wrong. It would just be our points of view.
Yeah.
But it might help. Okay, we'll see you in a couple of weeks then, love.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.